Hello, hello, everybody. We are now live, and I'm wondering if Grant, you've just signed on, if you can now see me. So, I am bringing you the fifth in the series of Crystal talk shows, which have been a huge hit and a lot of fun for me, and I think also those who have tapped into it. So, Grant, who cannot hear me but yet is chatting. Hey, Nellie, you can hear me, right? Um, I'm going to cut and paste. Oh, there we go. I've just shared a link. Nellie, are you able to hear me? That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, I think that, yeah, I can see my microphone's working just fine. So if anyone else is out there and would like to let me know that you can hear me, then I will know that we are cooking with gas. Okay, great. So now we are officially rolling. For anyone in doubt, if you ever want to know where to find my Facebook Live on the day that it's happening, just go to my Crystal Concentrics page, because this whole Be Live feed or stream is going straight to that. And to make it easier, beforehand, I go to my various groups and also even to my profile and let everybody know that the link I'm posting there on the night of the event is going to suddenly start feeding this live stream at 8:30 p.m. So hello, hi folks. I'm so glad to hear from everybody. Yes, Sue. And it's funny that you all should be on, because my first show and tell is going to be a set of rhodochrosite skulls. But before I do that, I actually have some other agenda items that I wanted to get to for this talk show. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Kyle Russell of Crystal Concentrics. I've been working with crystals for 30 years, and I'm doing this live event as a way of interacting with you, giving you an opportunity through the Q&A chat. Hello, Sarah. To ask any questions that you might have. I have been thinking about how often I do these events, and as you'll see in a few minutes, there might be a bit of a switch in the way that I manage my calendar, because of some very exciting news that I'm going to share with you for the first time tonight. But before we get into that, I wanted to show you something very special. Can you see the little green strands in there? This is a very special quartz piece that I had partially polished. You see the bottom here is not polished. And then the back, my guy who does my wire wrapping, he decided to leave this all sort of chalky and rough, which the entire point was before he polished it. And when I got it, I almost sent it back to him, because I was like, well, if you're going to polish it, why not polish it all the way? And why leave this sort of gunky stuff on the back? But when I actually held the stone, I realized that a lot of the energy I was getting from it was coming from that chalky stuff, which resembles petrified wood energetically. And so it's interesting, because the stone itself, and I'll bring this nice and close to you. Hopefully you can see those beautiful strands in there. Those strands are green, and this material is called Edenite. I have shown you Edenite before, but it was in a laser quartz crystal. Actually, the shape of it was a lot like this. This is a red laser, and we've talked about red lasers before, but I happen to have it lying around here, so I thought I would share it with you. So I'm going to just pop off my headset so I can put the necklace on. I am such a believer in necklaces that, as you know, I have this masterful wire wrapper, but I wanted tonight to show you a few pendants that are not made by him because they're gorgeous and a lot of fun. So this one is a very special rutilated quartz pendant, golden rutile. And this over here is a red rutile, which is quite different. It looks kind of more coppery. And the rutiles in general are stones that, for me, represent pride or sharing your light with the world. Here's another one. These are black. The question might be, is this tourmaline or not? I don't rightly know for certain. Usually tourmaline is a little bit bigger and bulkier as it passes through the crystal. So I don't rightly know whether that is tourmaline or not. And then I had this freaky little character here, which is a kind of chatoyant. It's got to be some sort of amphibole quartz, but it has a crazy, crazy light to it that makes it rather unusual and outstanding, almost like a tiger's eye sheen to it. Over here, we have an unusual stone, and who's going to guess what it is? I'm looking at the chat box, and I'm going to wait for someone to tell us what this stone is. You'll notice it's glittery and it's kind of pink. And I am very optimistic that someone is going to be able to identify it. Any guesses as of yet? I know there may be a delay in the audio between what I'm saying and what you're hearing. I'm getting a suggestion of druzy. Now, druzy is always crystallized. Once it gets polished, it's not druzy anymore. So druzy has to be a little layer of tiny, tiny crystals that glitter. So I can understand if this were rough to the touch, that it could be druzy. And I have a winner. Nellie has guessed it is tangerine. Now, tangerine is an oddly named stone. It comes from Tanzania, and it's named tangerine because they wanted to combine the country name with aventurine, which is green quartz. And now green quartz that doesn't crystallize is aventurine, but when it comes from Tanzania, it's called tangerine, and it can either be green or it can be red. And what I understand makes the tangerine red here is little bits of lepidolite. The lepidolite gives it a glitter, and you'll notice the gold. I'm going to tell you what this gold is. It's called vermeil. Vermeil is a super fancy word for 18 karat gold over sterling silver. So it's kind of valuable and special stuff. And in the top there, I'm pretty sure that's just an amethyst at the top. So that was a very fun piece I wanted to show you. I'm going to maybe show you a couple more. It's not every day that you get to find a nice ametrine. So ametrine here, you see there's a purple sector on either side, and then a citrine yellow in the middle. So that's kind of fun stuff. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on pendants in terms of my marketing coming up because I have so many amazing ones. And while I'm very known for my specimens, we actually have an extraordinary selection of pendants, and I tend to like wearing them. I'm wearing this one for some vibes tonight. I usually wear my Sugi light, and I've also been wearing a beautiful blue jade disc. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the changes and shifts that are coming up. We are now looking at May 28th, and that date is going to come up in our meditation tonight. We might do a little bit longer of a meditation this evening because I've got some good content I want to talk about in it. And while I might make up a unique meditation for it, I think we're going to have some, I won't say fun, but we're going to do some work with some crystal skulls in the meditation. So before I show you the skulls, I'm going to show you this, which you may have seen in a video. I did a video over the weekend in my newsletter, and I used this graphic in the actual sort of funnel. There's a way that I'm thinking about how people can interact with what it is that I have to offer, and I'm using this top as sort of the entry point, which is free stuff like my website and this talk show and all the videos on YouTube. And then when you become a subscriber, you suddenly start getting updated about stuff. And many of you have probably gotten an email this morning that said, hey, tonight's live link is here. Click on it at 8:30. And that's the type of custom attention that I want to start reserving increasingly for people who are paying $5 and $15 a month in order to get these types of special updates. And then as you enter the center, we have two programs, one called Crystals 360, where we're doing a curriculum every month focusing on a different crystal energy zone. And then we're also working on with the Inner Circle in a kind of support capacity, again with 2 or 3 interactions per month with that. So I just wanted to make a little plug using this beautiful ammonite as an example of what it is that we are offering in terms of memberships for people. Now, before I get into the skulls, which will lead us into our meditation, I want to mention that I have some very big news. I mentioned it earlier, but I am about to sort of ink a deal, as it were, with a company that works with people on writing books. And I am probably going to commit myself to writing my crystal book over the next 30 days and having it go to print in September so that it comes out in October and I can have it at the Marlboro Natural Living Expo as well as at Tucson in January. So this is kind of a huge announcement, and I'm putting myself out there about it because I have a sneaky feeling I'm going to really go ahead and make that happen. So what I'd like to do now is tell you that my schedule may be shifting as a result of this book announcement. I may not do 2 meditations for the general public a month. I may bring it down to 1, and the same might be true for talk shows. I'm getting the feeling that after having done a few talk shows and after people being in quarantine and now starting to think about leaving quarantine, that it's a lot of promotion, and I don't want people to get oversaturated with this type of stuff that I'm offering. So thank you everybody for the congratulations. It's really great to see your different names and know that you're all on the air. Now, let's talk about some crystal skulls, and you'll understand a little bit more why we're talking about them. I mean, for some reason, one of my customers, one of you on the list here, expressed interest in skulls. And so I posted them to my secret Facebook group, which is a buyer's group that is the only place on social media where I post pricing. I don't generally like to post prices in social media because I don't think it's a really healthy environment to do business. What I like to do is tell people what I do and then have them contact me. And so we're going to begin by having me show you some really exquisite skulls. This one here was sold to me as rhodonite in Arizona at the gem show there. And I got it back, and it wasn't till I started making videos of my various skulls that I looked at it and said, wait a minute, this is not a rhodonite. If you look at it closely, you see this waviness here. The waviness is something that does not happen in rhodonite at all. It happens only in rhodochrosite, but because this is a lighter pink, it's not as valuable as the darker pink. So I'm going to show you some of the darker pink rhodochrosite skulls. This is a very sweet one that's been made into a pendant, so you can hang that from a chain. And then you have this other one, which is really, really exquisitely carved. The eye sockets are very big around, and the cheeks are very well pronounced, and you get some very nice color in it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece, and it holds rhodochrosite. For those who aren't familiar with my energy zone system, rhodochrosite holds life, cellular regeneration energy. So rhodochrosite, especially appearing in a skull, is a very interesting combination because people are often afraid of skulls, or they think that skulls symbolize death. And it's a weird, not a contradiction, but a sort of connection of opposites to have a very life-affirming and generating energy like rhodochrosite patched with a skull. So I'm going to show you two more rhodochrosite skulls. This one here, which has nice color all the way around and is a little bit elongated. One might almost say that it's like a sort of alien head with the extra extension of the skull cap. And this one is unusual because you look right into it and you see these sort of bulbous terminations of the rhodochrosite in there. Very, very cool. So those are our rhodochrosite skulls. And the next four skulls I have to show you are all quartzes. So I'm going to begin with a clear quartz. And you're going to say, oh, that's quite a skull. But one of the things that you may not know about skull carvings is that they are never hollowed out, because that's a lot of work to get in there and drill all that space open without breaking the actual crystal. And when I purchased this, I got it, you see it's got a very, very little bit of rustiness right there. And I picked this one from a group of 4 or 5 different skulls, and they all had way, way more of that rustiness. So this was definitely hands down the best one. And I've realized that over the years, I've downplayed the value and uniqueness of my skull collection because there was a bit of a skull craze going for a while there, and now it's calmed down. Yes, thank you, Sue. The death and rebirth vibe. Very, very accurate. But now what I'm realizing is that skulls are basically an internal sort of, they're always in fashion. They're never going to go away as something that inspires our imagination. Now over here, I'm going to show you a, where are we going to get a nice image of it? This is a skull. You can see the little face here. That's a skull, but it's super elongated, and it is made out of Tibetan graphite quartz. So the graphite gets caught in the quartz, and it produces this incredible look and feel that many people really desire and appreciate. Oh, I'm going to hide the stream. There was a, wow, they took away my message that says that this is a talk show. Interesting. Weird. Anyway, Tibetan quartz is a beautiful thing, and I really appreciate when I can get it, and I don't get it often. And whenever I have people who are really into obscure, in-depth energetics appreciate it, and they end up walking away with buying a Tibetan quartz. So Tibetan quartz is a really nice thing to have in your collection. The next quartz I'm going to show you is a natural point. So here's all this rough natural point, has not been polished, and the face is citrine. This is a citrine quartz skull. Very cool, very different. Hold it like that. You can see that they honored the shape of the actual crystal. And it's quite unusual to find skulls that are carved out of crystals because someone had to take the time to find the right sized piece with the right color and then put a lot of effort into carving it instead of just having a big chunk that they could just do whatever they wanted and shape whatever they wanted. They were limited a little bit by the natural shape. Now, what we have here, the last but not least, is a great big kind of alien looking amethyst skull. So it looks almost like this skull is wearing goggles. And it's got a great big back to it. And even on the side, it has a little bit of these sort of vertebrae on it. And this is, maybe I'll put it in this hand so you can see it well. Let me turn it. There we go. So this is the crystal that I want us to meditate with tonight. I always do. Oh, bye, Leslie. Yes, you'll see the rest on replay. The beauty of this is it's going to be there forever right on Facebook. And if you visit the Crystal Concentrics page and check out the videos, you will find the replay of this and many other videos. So I'm going to put this forward here so it's nice and close to the screen. And I'm going to invite everybody to close your eyes. I'm going to close my eyes too. And as you'll notice, my tone of voice shifts. Things calm down. It's less of a frenetic social energy. And it's a way of my sharing with you my meditation style in hopes that you'll join me for my future online meditations, but also so that we can put this Facebook Live to lasting value. If you choose to return to it, you're welcome to re-experience any of these meditations. Now, usually before I introduce a stone into my sphere, I do what I call a body meditation. Sometimes I call it pre-med. In this case, I'm jumping right into working with the energy of the stone. A dark amethyst is very much a spiritual connector. And maybe part of the reason why the skull imagery is coming up more now is that we as a country are experiencing a major die-off caused by this awful pandemic. And I wanted to use this opportunity to devote a little energy towards recognizing all of those liberated souls and sending them the best wishes possible to rest in peace. also something that has not taken a holiday or a quarantine at this time has been the ugly face of racism and police brutality and senseless violence. And so I want to devote this meditation also to those who are under that scourge. And what we want to do is bring our wishes for the outside world back into yourself. Take the opportunity of seeing and recognizing death as a rite of passage, to come back into ourselves and appreciate our own experience of life and physical vitality and years ahead to look forward to. It's beyond the scope of this meditation to work with that and enhance that, but that would be a very valid topic for a future meditation. So I'd like for you to just soak in a little bit extra of the energy from this wonderful amethyst. You may not have noticed, but around the back of the head it lightens a great deal, making it a combination of both dark, high spirit mission amethyst and light lavender spiritual cleansing energy. And it's nice to have those combined in this particular piece. So after that breath, I'm going to put down, or maybe if you open your eyes, you can get a last look at this extraordinary piece. Right there, before I put it down. Now, it's hard to break out of meditation. It's something that I like so much doing, and I treasure every opportunity to do it. And I was mentioning to one of my groups that I tend to boy, I'm getting super nonverbal. Sorry about that. I got to work hard to break back into my steady consciousness. But I love doing the meditations, and that's what I was saying in my group, is that I'm going to be doing them kind of full out like this for as many years as I can, because I recognize I'm not getting any younger, and there might come a point where I don't have the mental acuity to hold on to a meditation as strong as I have in the past. So that being said, I do look forward to the meditations that we're going to be hosting in June. We had our last one last Thursday for May, and I have some more show and tell items. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to hop into the chat there. Oh, good. Thank you. Denise is observing that it's very healing to send energy to the pineal gland. If you could, Denise, for those of us who are not familiar with what the pineal gland is responsible for, feel free to type in that information into the chat so that we can all be more educated. Now, I have a few more show and tell items. First, I wanted to share with you this interesting item. This is called a chrysanthemum stone. And for a long time, it comes from Morocco. And I have learned that many of the fossils that come from Morocco are reproductions. They're faked. And with this, if you look at it closely, you can see it's like they've drawn the lines around these sharp, pointy points. and then they've painted the entire stone black. So the stone may not have been black to begin with. But the weird thing is that I have actually seen one of these broken open, and you can see that this white crystal really is a sun-shaped crystal that extends deeper into the stone. So I'm not sure whether all of these, I know actually that all of them are not fake, but many of them must be, but more might be real than we think, which is super cool. I'm going to compare and contrast it now with a Chinese chrysanthemum stone, which is absolutely natural. You can feel the texture of the white crystals inside of the black stone, and the black stone is naturally black. It's not painted, colored, or enhanced in any way. And it's possible that this stone was found first, and then they found these and said, hey, why don't we reproduce this in a more regular and perhaps more attractive way for people to appreciate? So this is called chrysanthemum stone. It's very interesting. It's like a starburst of light in the darkness. And the next thing I want to show you, actually, I'm going to show you two things. And I had this horrible thought when I was preparing for the show. I said to myself, gosh, what if I run out of things to show these people? That's just not going to happen, because I'm always getting new things, and there's always new ways of talking, even about some of the older stones. I wanted to bring back some irradiated quartz. I think a few shows ago I talked about Morion quartz, which is naturally irradiated, and I was going to show you the contrast and difference between totally irradiated, artificially irradiated quartz and a naturally irradiated quartz. But I think I might save that for next time. What I am going to show you here is this gigantic aquamarine, which if I point it right at you, you can see the crystals terminate here, and then they have a little courtyard in the middle, a little opening, a little atrium inside of it. And this, interestingly, last time I talked about self-healed crystals, here is another one. I'm going to try to get the light to shine off it, and I'm not having a lot of success doing that. There you go. You could kind of see that it's all crystallized on the bottom there. That's a self-healed floater of an aquamarine, which is not something you see every day. I purchased this from some American guys because I had been looking at it among the Pakistanis, and I had no real way of judging or gauging the value of it. And then these guys had 5 almost identical pieces in a flat, and I picked out the very best one. And then I got my ultimate aquamarine. Last time we were talking about if are there any crystals that I don't care for. And I realized that even though I appreciate aquamarine, I am a much bigger fan of topaz than I am of aquamarine. And they look so similar, you might ask, why one over the other? And it could just be a personal thing. This is a great piece, but honestly, if I get the right amount of money, I could part with this, as great as it is to have in my collection. So I'm coming up on the very last show and tell for the evening. So if anybody has any questions, any things that have been brought up by this particular talk show, or any questions that have been burning in their mind that you've been wanting to ask me, now is definitely the time to go ahead and pop that into the chat box. So as we wait for that, and I think there's probably a little bit of a delay, I'm going to show you one last type of stone, which is very cool. So many of you are familiar with rose quartz and know that rose quartz generally does not crystallize Ah, yes. Marina Phillips asks about a floater. And Denise Carver is bringing us up to speed on the pineal gland as being the third eye of the brain. I don't know if it's physically located here, but that's a great way of thinking about it. So, Marina, you asked about a self-healed crystal. I was showing you that this aquamarine, which has a natural normal termination at the end of it, was broken off at some point in the past. And you can see that because the light is shining and reflecting on the bottom of it is not broken. The bottom of it has healed itself and re-terminated, even though not as perfectly as the original terminations. So that is the answer to your question about self-healing. And self-healing can almost automatically make a crystal into a floater. A floater is a crystal with no obvious breakpoints. And very funny and coincidentally, this crystal here is a floater. You'll notice there's no breakpoints. It was not broken off from another crystal, but it formed in solution. And you might recognize a tourmaline, a green tourmaline right up there at the top, has lodged itself inside of this extraordinary cluster of natural crystallized rose quartz. So that's a pretty exciting find and a very exciting piece. But I'm going to show you something that's even more spectacular, even though what I just showed you is probably more rare. This is a more recent find, and this is called green amethyst. Green amethyst. I'm going to move it back in hopes that the color is coming back to more natural. When you hold something up to a digital camera, especially if there's white in it, it starts to freak out and you see funny things start to happen with my background in terms of the color saturation. So this is called green amethyst, but there's really nothing about it that tells me it's an amethyst. It doesn't have the telltale points. The points are slightly more elongated than an amethyst, and it doesn't have the squat crystal structure of an amethyst. So for me, I would call this pink quartz or even crystallized rose quartz, even though apparently the chemical reaction that or combination or makeup of this is not the same as what you find in a rose quartz. To me, if it's rose, it's a quartz, it might as well be a rose quartz. So I'm okay calling it pink quartz. I'm not as excited about calling it the trade name pink amethyst because I don't think it's that great. And yes, Nellie correctly identified it. And I'm going to show it to you really close because there's some really tasty crystals in there. And it has a very soft energy. In fact, the energy of this stuff is a lot like a lithium quartz. And if you like lithium quartz, the soft, soothing, healing, pacifying energy of a lithium quartz, then this stuff is really a good choice for you to have. I have some smaller pieces, but I also got some huge honkers because it's so rare to come across these big pieces that, and it's also, I think the big pieces really showcase the crystalline structure and the energy so much better than some of the tiny pieces. Another thing that's interesting about these is it seems to come in these quartz-like geodes, and sometime I'll show you a milky quartz geode from Morocco because those are very interesting. They're like little nuggets. They're little balls of quartz that are hollow and crystallized inside with milky quartz. They're quite tasty, actually. So, yeah, it seems like the chat is so much behind my live stream time. Anyway, that being said, this is the last stone that I'm leaving you with, and I want to remind you about a couple of things that are happening. So for starters, I'm talking about writing a book over the next 3 months, which is a huge undertaking. Second of all, I am going to be making up the June calendar and schedule. So I want you to look at that closely in terms of what is going to be happening when for meditations and for this talk show. Three, my crystal consultations are no longer on sale. So we're going to be going back to more of the normal rates on that. So if you didn't catch that promotional opportunity, you'll have to wait till later or just book in with what we've got going for now. I've been doing a lot of work preparing merchandise for people who've been contacting me online. But within 2 weeks, it looks like our store, Portal Crystal Gallery, will be opening up again for the general public. So that is super, super exciting. And I look forward to receiving all of you at the store who live close enough. All of this online activity has really, I think, enabled me to connect more with my long distance online audience. And that's super exciting as well. So stay in touch and do remember that I have these multiple ways of connecting into the Crystal Concentrics Ammonite, as it were, free offerings, $5, $15, Crystals 360, and the Inner Circle are all ways in which I've thought up connection points for the general public to tap into what it is that we're doing. So thank you everybody for watching. It has been a pleasure, and you can always add additional questions to the live stream or write me, Kyle at crystalconcentrics.com, and I'll be happy to respond. So thanks for being on this journey together, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. There will be that replay both on Facebook at this link and also through YouTube. We'll upload it to YouTube for you. All right, talk to you later.